Welcome everyone to another Spinistry chat. Today we're going over the Hill Country Hundy routes out of San Saba, Texas. Quick heads up, the routes are available to all registered riders now from the sign up page. If you're signed up for the event, just go to the sign up page and you will see a link for the routes and also the location map. We'll talk about that in a little bit. After the event is over, those routes will all be available to Club Spinistry members as well. We just want to wait till they're final before we make them available to the general membership. For those of you who aren't aware, we do consider all of our routes preliminary until they are marked immediately before the event. That's kind of the nature of these dirt road routes. Things can go weird sometimes. Roads can be unexpectedly closed. Bridges can be washed out. We don't expect any issues, but we've run into it before. We've just scouted these a few weeks ago and everything was great. We expect that to be the case, but until they're marked and final, they are not final. And hey, let's take it from here. This is our normal cover page. This is the event page. It has all three routes on it, but we have a 102.3 mile route, a 65.1 mile route, and a 46.5 mile route as mapped out presently. And over here on the right hand side, this is all three of them together. The big green loop is our 102 miler, the red segment is the 45 miler, and the blue segment is the addition to the 45 miler for the 65 miler. We'll go more in depth. We're going to start with the 65 miler and talk about the 45 miler split, then we'll go in depth on the 100-mile route. The 100-miler is a heck of a route. It's all good stuff. The shorter routes are fantastic rides. The 100-miler is a monumental ride. Let's look at the overview for all three routes. This is our staging area in San Saba. This is the Joe Ragsdale Pavilion. We have a pavilion area. That's where we're going to have our after party. Parking here, parking here. Should be plenty of parking for everybody. This is Mill Pond Park over here. Let's go to the map view and zoom out a little bit. And so we're kind of in the southeast corner of San Saba proper. We do plan for all three distances to start at the same time. And all three routes are going to start out the same. We'll talk about the different splits here. And it does not take long. Let's actually go to the map view. The satellite view is not going to do us a lot of good. About here is when we catch our first dirt. So what is that? That's about 3 miles out of town, or 3 miles from the start. And we'll be catching our first dirt road. And for the most part, it is all dirt roads from there. My guess is if you look at the Ride with GPS data, for future reference, if you're not aware of this, when you look at the Ride with GPS data and it says percentage of paved versus unpaved, just throw all that out the window. It's really common for Ride with GPS to say that our routes are only 5% unpaved and 95% paved or something ridiculous like that, when it's quite the opposite. So not just for our stuff, anytime you look at Ride with GPS data, ignore it when it tells you if it's a paved road or an unpaved road. Realistically, about the only way you can do it is to go out and physically verify it. And that's what we do. That's why we scout. Wind around here, and this section here, the 45 and the 65 milers, let's see, yeah, right there, you're going to go down this little stretch of road right here twice. The first time, you're going to go south. The second time you come through there, and we'll talk about it more when we come through the second time, you'll go north. We'll have adequate signage for it. Just keep it in mind if you are relying on a GPS device, and at the riders meeting we'll talk about how to differentiate that intersection when you go through each time. First time you go to the south, and about that time is when everybody's together at this point. So my guess is everybody's not going to have any problem at all catching this first south turn. And when you cross Highway 190, that's basically when you start your first, it's over a 5 mile, almost continuous climb. It's not a super steep climb, it's just a grind that goes on for over 5 miles. It's actually pretty cool. How often do we get continuous climbing in Texas? So all three routes will get this first continuous climb that starts at about 12 miles in. So then we catch the next section, a really cool winding road section here. And This will get to our first water table right about mile 25, 24 and a half, mile 25. The 65 and the 45-mile routes are going to hang right here. The 100-miler is going to split off to the left at this point. And right now, the 45 and the 65 are still together. You caught that first water table. And you start winding back towards the north here. And then you're going to catch this County Road 204. This is actually a pretty flat segment, usually really smooth through here. This is usually a fast and fun segment. And then you're going to go through this section again, and this time you're going to take the turn to the north, up towards China Creek Cemetery. Now, at this intersection with 202, the 65 milers will go to the left and will show the rest of their route. The 45 milers will go to the right and basically double back on that first 5 miles, which is now their last 5 miles back towards the staging area. The 65 milers are going to take a left, and this is a really fun dirt road section through here. This is really cool. Back when we did our first Regency Bridge rumble, we did it out of San Saba, and Regency Bridge is up here a ways to the northwest. And we'll be doing Regency Bridge rumble again, probably in February or March. We do that out of Richland Springs now. We used to do it out of San Saba, but there was no way to get the short route riders to Regency Bridge. When we run it out of Richland Springs, we can get the short route riders to Regency Bridge. And it's a really cool spectacle. If you've never been to the Regency Bridge, plan to join us in Richland Springs for the Regency Bridge Rumble. But the first time we came out for the Regency Bridge Rumble, this was one of our favorite sections through here, and then wind through here. And then we're going north of San Saba, and we're at about, I want to say we're at about mile 50. That's the second water table for the 65 milers. This is a fun little section here. Really neat section. 65 milers are going to enjoy this. Wind back into town, back to the staging area. So that's the 65 and the 45 miler layout. Again, roughly mile 25-ish for the first water table for the 65 milers, and well, for all the 3 routes, around mile 25. And the 65 milers will have another water table at mile 50. And then at the finish, we will have snacks and drinks, cold drinks, beers, all that good stuff. And let's now go over the 100-mile route. It's going to be exactly the same as everybody else for that first segment to the water table. And then at the water table, that's where the 100 milers will go left. And a short section of Farm to Market Road, and then from here, it's just, this is just a fantastic route for the 100 milers. I mean, it's good up to this point, but if you're looking for something special to do this weekend, this is a really, really good route. Good bit of climbing. I want to say over 100 miles. Ride with GPS says it's like 4,700, 4,800 feet of elevation. How much is that in the real world? I can't say. Ride with GPS is pretty consistent. Usually 3,000 to 3,500 in 100 miles is noticeably tough. So 4,700 feet is going to be that much more noticeably tough. This is some real backcountry, out in the middle of nowhere, out in historic Comanche historic Texas area. This stuff's really, really cool riding. Some really unique views and a few challenging sections. All the roads were in pretty good shape, but there's a few noticeably long and chunky downhills in the mix. So you don't want to go to sleep on this route. About where we are here is when it starts to take a little turn towards the east. And we catch Highway 71 just outside of Valley Spring. Will be the 100 milers second water table, so probably about mile 54, mile 55 or so. Here we go. And then it starts to wind towards Babyhead Cemetery. A little bit of Highway 16 to get there. Go by Babyhead Cemetery, Babyhead Mountain. This back section through here I think this was what was once was called the community of Babyhead. This is technically paved here, but I think you're still going to enjoy it. It would be super, super cool if it were unpaved as well. With a little bit of rough pavement, it's just plain super cool, okay? Head up towards the town of Cherokee, take a little back road back into Highway 16, around mile 80, if I remember correctly. There is a general store in Cherokee. I cannot speak to if it will be open or not. So we're going to have the water and snack table before Cherokee, and you will want to fuel up before that last final push. This is an amazing dirt road section just north of Cherokee, winding back up towards San Saba. About the last 9.5 or 10 miles will be paved. Don't let that dissuade you. I guarantee you, you're going to be ready for pavement at that time, but there's some good rollers and some good climbing in this pavement too. It's not going to be an easy paved last 9.5 miles or so, and then come back into town and join the party with everyone. Definitely review the routes ahead of time. Get familiar with them. Know where things are. When you should expect to make a turn and when not. Don't be surprised. Don't just download the routes the morning of. Go ahead and download them in the night. Look at them. Get familiar with where things are. See if you have issues getting it onto your device and things like that. We're not going to be in a position to help everyone get routes loaded if they have issues. Now, something new we're throwing into the mix, starting with the Hill Country Hundy. We have used this feature previously for our RAT 1000 and our Dallas to Austin multi-day point-to-point events. We're going to start using group locator pages for all of our events. It's not mandatory, it's highly encouraged. It lets you show your loved ones and your friends where you're at on the route during the event. It also gives us the capability, if someone's having issues, to know where you're at on the route. You can access it through spotwalla.com. This is what the group locator page will look like. It has the different routes on it, and you can use free telephone apps. If you have a satellite tracker, we highly encourage that, because there's definitely going to be areas of these routes that don't have cell coverage, or might be spotty depending on your cell carrier, or non-existent depending on your cell carrier. If you have a satellite tracker, you definitely utilize it. Go to spotwalla.com, set up a free account with them. They'll point you to a couple of telephone apps. If you don't have a satellite tracker, those are free as well. Now, the Spotwalla tracking service, there is a charge for it for day of tracking, but it's literally just pennies a day. I mean, we're talking 3 to 8 cents a day for the tracking. Again, just like the Ride with GPS, go to spotwalla.com, set up your free account, download the apps if you need to, or set up your Garmin, your Spot, your Zoleo, whatever satellite tracker you have, and start doing that now on the front end. And that way, if you do run into any issues or have any confusion, you can reach out to Spotwalla support, and they'll be able to get you sorted out. We're really looking forward to introducing live tracking to all of our events. We think it's going to help take things to that next level for everyone, for peace of mind, safety, and just to share with your friends and loved ones what you got going on for the weekend. The weather forecast, let's move my mug up here out of the way. Now, right now, the weather is dry for the weekend, but a little cool in the morning is the forecast, but not much wind. And realistically, I know you Central Texas folks don't like the cooler weather. This is worth it, trust me. Actually, the biggest piece of advice I'm going to tell you is don't overdress. That's the mistake a lot of people. They just bundle up completely when it's going to be a little bit cool, 50 degrees or so, starting out high 30s first thing in the morning. People will overdress and they'll get five miles into it and they'll be burning up. Go with layers. Realistically, leg warmers and arm warmers and something to cover your ears and nose. If you have a neck gaiter or something like that, that's going to be perfect, because you can pull the neck gaiter down as you warm up. Usually the leg warmers, unless they're the super insulated thermal ones, you can wear those throughout the day. And since you're moving, the wind That'll be fine. And if your arm warmers start getting warm, you just roll them down to your wrist and you're good to go. You probably don't want to do the puffy jacket. You probably don't want to do the insulated booties. You probably don't want to do the blizzard gloves attached to the handlebar or anything. That's going to be overkill. Trust me, I know some of you aren't used to temperatures under 60 degrees, but that's still going to be overkill for you. It's going to be a beautiful day on the bike. Come join us. We'll see you then.